Welcome back to another round of TFR eSports here in the F3 division for round 11 of 15. I am your commentator CJH here for the final 5 rounds of the season 25. We're rapidly approaching the end of the season and it's a critical qualifying right here. The checker flag is out and we've got the final runs coming in, and it's this man here, Alfie Nerfboy, the only man who can potentially make a threat for pole, and he's only 5th. So, your 2 title protagonists start 2nd and 5th for this Italian Grand Prix. We're back at Monza once more. Ultimate Stan is coming around the final corner. Let's not rule him out. We've seen some great laps from him earlier this season. However, I think, there he goes, up into 5th. So he bumps Alfie down into 6th. Not the greatest qualifying for McLaren in 7th and 8th. They're in a Haas sandwich. They're both them teams fighting it out for the Constructors' Championship. The 2 Ferraris had qualifying bans, so they weren't able to set a lap in that session. But that is it. Done and dusted for qualifying here for the Italian GP and F3. And well, we've got a bit of a mixed up grid there because it is indeed Shocker on pole position for Mercedes. He's still reserve, he's still hopping from one team to another, but he's on pole position for Mercedes tonight with the championship leader Ledanes on the front row. Veer back in the Alpine in 3rd place, with MB on his debut in Red Bull in 4th place, and Ultimate Stan making it 2 Alpines in the top 5 in 5th place. So an interesting qualifying session there with some interesting results, shall I say. And well, you have to be honest that Alfie has got a bit of work to do in this one. It's a long run into the first corner and it's full dry conditions we're expecting for this. It's going to be a very quick race. The lap times are quick, the average speed is quick, so in turn the race absolutely motors along. But so expect plenty of drama. We had an eventful turn 1 last week with a bit of a pile-up, shall I say, at the first corner at Spa. Will we see something similar here? It is sketchy into that first corner. It's very sketchy, and some drivers will risk a bit more, trying to get late on the brakes and try and pick up as many positions as they can. But let me know in the chat what you think is going to happen. What's your podium predictions? And also, who do you think is going to win the championship? It's basically a three-way fight now with Ledanes, Alfie and Raheem in the McLaren. I think Raheem is very much the outsider. He's got a lot of work to do if he does want to claw himself back into championship contention. So it's pretty much a fight between Ledanes and Alfie. There's about 30 points in it, which is the equivalent of a race victory. So Alfie has to start outscoring Ledanes if he wants to stay in the mix. Here we go then. We've got 3, 4, 5 red lights here at Monza. And we are underway. It was a bit of a long wait for the lights to go out, as always. And it's Ledanes with a great start there off the light, already getting alongside Shocker, and will take the lead into the first corner. Someone's got it all wrong, and that's Alfie off in the background. That is the Alfie spinning round. There's also a Red Bull round as well as an RB cutting across the track. But Alfie down into 14th place. An awful start. I knew it was going to be dramatic, and it has proven to be, as he's down into 13th. Now he's got ahead of the Red Bull, who's also had that awful start there. But Ledanes, that is an absolute dream start. Not a bad start for the Ferraris, although they're going wheel to wheel there, and they're almost running into each other at the second chicane as he gets all out of shape there. Nepatal coming out of that corner, but the 2 Ferraris already going at it right at the back here. But meanwhile at the front, Ledanes does indeed lead with a slim lead though over Shocker. Shocker is still right there. He's got 2 Alpines for company right behind. As we go into Ascari for the first time of this race, and Ledanes then will have to somehow try and break that DRS, because he will be coming under serious threat down the main straight come the next lap. They won't have it on him this time around. Thankfully, the pack have all managed to close back up together despite those shenanigans at the first corner. They are all back together, and there's maybe a slight gap there between Sci-Fi Mega Hype and Dark Shadow reserving tonight for Aston Martin. Ledanes then clear and away from any threat into the first corner, but you can see the chase and pack right behind, all right there. And there is a move potentially from Raheem, having a little look at Dark Shadow. Can't quite find a way past just there. I've spotted as well, Ultimate Stan has got a penalty a 10-second penalty, and Northey's got a penalty for corner cutting as well. So a big penalty there. There goes the move from Raheem then to the outside on Dark Shadow. Gets squeezed as well, and they make a bit of contact. Raheem is off the circuit, and he spun off as well. Now, I'm sure that one will go to the series because I'm not sure he was left enough room on the outside there by Dark Shadow. And, well, Raheem will be not happy about that one at all. Back to the front. So the top four, all on medium tyres. Got Ollie Bean at the back of this queue on the soft tyres. So we'll see how they will play as well. Oh, Stan's got another penalty. Oh, and there's a car off in the wall. That's a McLaren of Ollie Bean. That's a huge shunt into the barrier. The safety car is out. And we've seen that one before. Coming out of Ascari, they've all managed to just dodge that car. But a huge whack into the barrier there. The car is already gone as well. And, well, do they all dive in? Surely, it's a free pit stop. Ledanes is in, shocker. Oh, Stan and Veer. So this is going to absolutely screw Veer's race because Stan, with a 10-second penalty, will have to just sit tight in the pits before they can service his car. Now, I've seen this before. The Aston Martin of Dark Shadow is probably going to get blocked here as well because he can't actually get out the pits. Oh, he does. He does. There's a bit of ghosting there, thankfully for him. But he's lucky that is the case because he would have got stuck there with the two Alpines. I mean, they've had a great start, but the 10-second penalty for Ultimate Stan has completely destroyed both of their races here, with them now both well outside the top five, down towards the back. This has benefited Alfie. He's up into 7th place now. And his teammate, Cypher Mega Hype, up into 4th. Dark Shadow also on the medium tyre now, so we'll see what he can do in the remainder of this race. But it was Carbold, the only driver to stay out on those hard tyres, taking the gamble, and he potentially maybe gambling on a late safety car later on to maybe pit when everyone else will also be forced to do so. So I like it. It's worth taking that risk. Split the strategies at Ferrari. Alpine should have done the same. Veer should have done the same. Took the lead of the race, stayed out, because in the end, he's ended up last anyway. But Kerbal then will lead the way at the safety car restart for Ferrari on home turf. But Ollie Bean apologising in the chat, and that was a hefty whack as well. Unfortunately, when you lose it at that part of the circuit, you will always probably find the barrier at some point. So let's have a look at the chat. So we've got Game of Rose saying same conditions this time too. So I wonder what that is referring to. Going back, saying carnage into turn 1. We did indeed have carnage into turn 1. We had about 3 cars off. MB for the podium, that's for sure. Nicky Boy saying there. He's another Red Bull driver that will be making his debut next week in Las Vegas. Ollie Bean saying it was the sausage curb that fired himself into the barrier. Ferrari leads, come on Kura, from My Master. And then Ollie Bean saying he is very upset with himself. Of course he would be. McLaren are in a constructors battle, and at the minute they're on an awful run. They're on an absolutely awful run. Didn't have good points in Spa. Both cars were towards the back there. And, well, here we are in Monza, and it's looking pretty bleak again. Haas are very much taking the bull by the horns in that F3 Constructors fight, and they are very much looking like the favourites at the minute. There is still 4 rounds to go after tonight, and there's still plenty to go in this race for them to recover something, but it's looking not too great for now. But for Alfie, in that first corner, it looked like he just got a bit onto the grass on the outside, and then he was just unable to control the car, and it spun off. Too many cars going into one corner side by side, and it is a very narrow part of the circuit. It does narrow, shall I say, actually, into that first corner. The safety car's coming in. You can see the lights are off, and it will be Carmel getting us back underway here. And let's just see how he will play this one, because he needs to go either out of the final corner or just before the line. You can't really go now because it's a bit too early. You'll have the others behind you get right onto your tail, and you'll be coming under serious pressure into that first corner. The safety car is in the pit lane, so he can now go whenever he chooses. But Carbold here will surely either run this to the line, so then there's less of a chance they can have a run at him, or he will go just before that and catch them napping. Let's just see. He's not going at the final corner. You can see they're all queuing up, ready to go, and there goes Kerbal. Then he gets it going, and I tell you, that is a pretty good job, because he's got the gap to the Danes. We've got Nepatal onto the grass in the background there, and they're already going at it. Going into this first corner, Alfie has made the move on the Aston Martin, and the Aston Martin's got it all wrong, and he's gone flying into the first corner. They've all made contact. It's an absolute pile-up. We've got multiple cars off there at the first corner, and it's Ledanes and Kerbaldov and Alfie. That is absolutely incredible. You have two title protagonists now making contact as well, coming out of the second corner. You cannot write it. That is absolutely crazy. I have no idea what on earth just happened there. We've got another car off in the background there. I think that might be the Ferrari Nepatal. It is. We've got more yellows, and I think that is, again, is something going on there between Alfie and Ledanes. And I think Ledanes got a puncher potentially. That car, he might be okay. It definitely looked a little bit not quite right there, coming out of that corner. But absolute chaos then. So Shocker moves into the lead despite having a 3-second penalty. Cypher Mega Hype now up into second place. Dark Shadow up into the podium spots. However, I fear he may have caused some of the chaos there, as Norfie has found himself into the barrier now as well. He's retired, and we have another safety car. So he is in the barrier at the very back there at Ascari. You can't even see it in the camera shot. And that is another car out. But wow, I mean, absolute chaos. I didn't quite get a good look at it to see who caused what there. Surely the guys at the back, particularly Kerbal, will all dive in the pits. I'm going to stand. He's got another 10-second penalty for crying out loud. No, Kerbal that's hit Alfie going in the pits. That is absolutely absurd. What on earth he was trying there. And you can be absolutely sure that will be getting reported to the stewards, as he now picks up damage on the front wing and has to queue for good measure to get into his pit spot. Veer also in for fresh mediums. Ultimate Stan as well tried to get rid of his 10-second penalty and has gone and picked up another one for good measure. I can feel the pain of Epic the Animal / Logan. If he was watching right now, he'd be absolutely pulling his hair out. But the two leaders, they have almost swapped positions. They're not quite sure what's going on, as they are behind the safety car. But this safety car will delay things once more. And, well, this is, I have to say, this is probably the most dramatic F3 race I've seen so far. And that is hands down. I've never ever seen that kind of thing so far in the F3 division this season. It's been a fairly clean division, but that was absolute chaos at the safety car restart. And it looked like Kerbal had got a pretty good run on the rest of the pack, but those behind just didn't use the brakes, and they all ended up piling into each other, as the Danes gets a penalty for corner cutting under the safety car. My word, what a crazy race this has been then. So the Danes, your championship leader, down in 7th place. Alfie, second in the championship, down 11th. Raheem then now is ahead of his championship rivals, so this could be a bit of a recovery job for him. Dark Shadow as well, still looking very good on the medium tyres in 3rd place. Shocker, obviously, with his penalty in the lead, could be in a bit of trouble. Cypher Mega Hype could be staring at a quite sensational victory tonight if he keeps this up. Ultimate stands in the pits again to get rid of that 10-second time penalty. And, well, this has been quite something. So, how's it going to play out when we get back going? That is the big question. Let's just check the chat. What was everyone saying? So, Alfie on for a good recovery, Comatic saying, considering it was P14, he was on for a good recovery until all hell broke loose at that restart. I mean, I can't believe that. The fact that it was Ledanes and Alfie that were both round at that first corner. I mean, it could have been anybody, but it had to be those two. So let's see. Comac as well saying he has free slot. Well, that doesn't matter anymore because all that shenanigans happened. My master saying, "Come on, what the heck?" Comac also saying, "Well, Ledanes killed him according to my master." So, well, let's see. I'm sure that one will absolutely be going to the stewards. You can be sure F2 will also be delayed by quite a bit here. Although we've only got about 5 laps or so, but I think F2 will probably be starting about 7 o'clock tonight. So if anyone's listening, referring to that, feel free to put that in the chat. Right. Ollie Bean saying Northey was clipped off by an Alpine. So I'm sure that will also be going to the stewards. But yeah, my mass saying Ledain surely will get a penalty for that. So, well, we'll have to see the replays first. But something has obviously gone on there. Shocker's not mucking around this time. He's absolutely gone for it early here. And there's no messing around. He is gone. And you can see already there's a bit of a gap to the others. Sci-Fi Mega Hype is right there as well. There is MB making the move on Larry then up into P4 before the first corner. It's a great run in that Red Bull there. They all get it slowed down this time around, I think. Yep, they do. It's all clean this time around. Kerbal with big damage on that Ferrari actually wasn't able to change his front wing this time around. So he's kind of marching on in that car. Nepatal then making the move on Ledain's then into this second chicane. That's a bit of a surprise. So Ledain's falling down, and Veer's also made the move on Ledain's as well. So Ledain's is absolutely tumbling down the order. He's going to get picked off by Alfie, and so too by Kerbal. He's now behind Ulmastan as well. Something is up with that car because he's absolutely just dropped like a stone behind everybody there. So Ledain's seriously in trouble here. And like I say, your championship leader here, he's in the wars. Fruascari, once again, this time around, looks fairly clean. Yeah, nobody having too many shenanigans this time around. There was a little bit wide from somebody, as Alfie has actually picked up a penalty there, I've just seen at the top of the screen. Raheem now ahead of Larry for P5, going into Parabolica there. But Shocker with a great restart there, got about a second over Cypher Megabyte as MB now picks off Dark Shadow bizarrely halfway up the straight there. So MB on a real charge in that Red Bull. Dark Shadow's coming back at him though towards this first corner. He's going to have a little look to the inside, thinks better of it, tucks back in, and oh, someone's gone wide in the background there. That's Nepatal and Larry getting big front wing damage there on the car, and down into 8th place. Garibaldi as well. Oh, they made contact there, and that's 2 cars off in the wall, and that's a miracle, an absolute miracle that Alfie wasn't wiped out there, because that was a heavy whack into the barrier once again. And this time it's Garibaldi who has got more damage on the car. His front wing basically looks like a sledge now, and that car will have the handling of a tractor. Raheem then making the move on Dark Shadow. Dark Shadow hanging it on again there with Raheem. These two have been in the wars already in this race. And Raheem there with no DRS. Nepatal's got DRS, and they're free wide. Coming down this straight, gets very close, but there goes Dark Shadow back ahead. There goes Nepatal ahead of Raheem, and there's absolutely overtakes left, right, and centre in this one. As Raheem there now moving back up the order. But Dark Shadow is holding his own here. He clearly has great straight line speed as Raheem now chucked it down the inside. That was ambitious. You might as well save it for the straight and have another go there, because this one is rumbling on here. And on to lap 10 of 13. We've not got too long to go. And there is the move, and that's Dark Shadow who's put him in the wall. He's put him in the wall there, and that is absolutely unacceptable. And, well, that is awful. Nepatal's just been completely wiped out there, and that will, yeah, that is just completely unacceptable. Late move or what? That was ridiculous. As Veer goes right around the outside then of Raheem, and well, I'm just sorry for Nepatal that has just happened, because that is just completely ridiculous. Yeah, there'll be a huge penalty coming for that. Moving on though, out front, Shocker has got the gap over Cypher Mega Hype, and Cypher Mega Hype is really struggling here because he's just been picked off by MB. I wonder if Sci-Fi is probably just trying to hang on to this podium now, because he's maybe not quite got the pace to get this victory here, and he may just need to bring this home and get valuable points on the board for Haas. There's a bit of a moment in the background there. Ledains is now trying to go back ahead of Larry before Parabolica, and he has done so. So this is very much now becoming a battle for 4th place. Dark Shadow ahead of Veer. Veer then moves alongside Dark Shadow. Is there going to be any trouble this time around? Thankfully not. But so too is Raheem, closing in behind. He switches to the inside aggressively there on Dark Shadow. Dark Shadow gets late on the brakes, covers off the McLaren, and a little bit of lag there for good measure. But Raheem, he'll be super frustrated here, and he'll be desperately trying to make the move. As they go for the Curva Grande now, he's going to go to the outside, and he's going to risk this here, going right around the outside of the Aston Martin. He'll have the inside line for the next corner, and it's job done for Raheem. No, it's not. Dark Shadow hangs on somehow and remains ahead of Raheem here. South Mega Hype hasn't actually had a podium yet this season, so that is definitely something to keep an eye on, as he's going to have to try and hang on in these final 2.5 laps ahead of Veer. Here comes Raheem again, goes to the inside, gets on the grass as well, incredibly aggressive once more, but he will get it done finally. No, he won't. Dark Shadow, oh, and there's Ledane's round. Your championship leaders round. Oh, and he's hit Alfie as well for good measure. What on earth is happening in this race? He's got damage on the front wing now as well, and Ledanes and Alfie have just had a night to forget, as they are both now down in 9th and 10th, and Ledanes there trying to make that move on the inside going into Ascari. Got it all wrong, and then Alfie just clips in for good measure. Here comes Raheem then, and with the DRS we'll surely finally get this done on Dark Shadow, and he is now ahead and well clear of the Aston Martin, which he'll be relieved about considering the contacts and collisions he's had with Dark Shadow tonight. But Raheem then up into P5 and will probably stay there now. We are on the penultimate lap. We've got a lap and a half to go. It's getting a bit tight at the very front as well, because MB did close slightly on Shocker. There's 9/10 in it. Shocker obviously has that 3-second time penalty on it. Stand now ahead of Dark Shadow. Dark Shadow really starting to fall off further down the order, with Larry next up to pick up a position there. Veer as well starting to gain on Sci-Fi Mega Hype for P3. So Ultimate Stand with loads of penalties there, so he really will fall back, and he will probably fall back behind Alfie, as Dark Shadow again has got back in front of him. Really frustrating everybody tonight. So Shocker then will start the final lap here with a 1.1 second advantage over MB to pick up his first win in F3 this season. And he has driven brilliantly tonight, but he just needs to get this home. He's got a second to hang on from ahead of MB. Sci-Fi Mega Hype, about a 1.2 second margin over the Alpina Veer to hang on to his first ever podium. His Dark Shadow now is off into the gravel there, drops behind Larry and down into 8th place. Alfie at the minute, after penalties, will still move up to about 8th place here. So maybe slim points that he'll gain, or small points shall I say, points he'll gain over the Danes, but it will be better than nothing considering how bonkers of a race this has been. Shocker then, the gap is down now to 3.4. It's getting a little bit tight there, but I think Shocker should be all safe here. It's getting super tight, and is that MB in the wall? No, he's almost hit the barrier. He has hit the wall. He has hit the barrier in the background there. So he might just come under pressure now. Sci-Fi Mega Hype coming under serious pressure from Veer into this final corner. I'm going to have to go to the leader, because Shocker is going to brilliantly win for the first time here in TFR eSports. He wins for Mercedes here at Monza. MB will hang on to second place, and I think Veer has had a moment in the background. Cyber Mega Hype is delighted with that. He picks up his first ever podium in TFR eSports, and he absolutely deserved that. First ever podium as well for MB on his debut. He's lucky to get to the end of that race despite that crash there at the very end. Raheem completes the top 5 with Veer in 4th. What a race that was for one reason or another. It was dramatic and chaotic, and we've had the 2 title protagonists in that race in the absolute wars. Look at the state of that front wing on Alfie, and look at the state of the front wing on Ledanes. Your 2 championship challengers really coming to blows there. Wow. What next? So that is your podium there. And I have to say, before I started the stream tonight, I never expected to see those three on the top. With no disrespect to them, but none of them have really had anything to show for so far this season in terms of podiums and victories like that. So what a fantastic podium that is, and what a great result for that trio of Shocker, MB and Cypher Mega Hype. Like I say, F3 has not been too bonkers this season. It's not been too crazy, but that was the craziest of the lot. Shocker then wins from pole, but it very much wasn't as simple as that. MB gets a podium on his debut for Red Bull, with Sci-Fi Mega Hype getting his first ever podium here in TFR eSports. That's the rest of the results on your screen right there. We're going to have to dash off now for the F2 division. But thank you very much for tuning in tonight for F3. It's been a crazy race, and well, it's been action-packed, left, right, and centre. And just for good measure, next week we have the Las Vegas Grand Prix, which should be just as crazy. We'll see you then.